Czech Republic's Bone Church, Kutná Hora, Sedlec Ossuary. Join us as we explore the eerie Sedlec Ossuary in Kutná Hora, a small town in Czech Republic. Can you imagine what it feels like to stand in a space surrounded by the remains of over 40,000 human bones and where death has been transformed into art? Let's dive into the haunting beauty and chilling history of this bone-filled chapel. The Sedlec Ossuary, a macabre masterpiece of history. Nestled in the heart of Kutná Hora, the Sedlec Ossuary is a site unlike any other in the world. It's a small chapel that has become infamous for its chilling interior, where human bones have been arranged into stunning, almost surreal works of art. The chapel's journey from an unassuming medieval building to a world-renowned bone church is steeped in both tragedy and reverence, dating back over 700 years. The history of the Sedlec Ossuary begins in 1278, when the abbot of the Sedlec Monastery, Henry, was sent to a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. Upon his return, he brought back a handful of earth from Golgotha, the site of Jesus Christ's crucifixion, and sprinkled it over the monastery cemetery. This act instantly elevated the graveyard's sacredness, making it one of the most sought-after burial grounds in Central Europe. Nobles and commoners alike flocked to be buried in Sedlec, believing that resting in the holy soil would ensure their passage into heaven. A sanctuary for plague and war victims. By the 14th century, the Black Death had swept across Europe, killing an estimated 25 million people. The plague claimed countless lives in Kutná Hora and the surrounding areas, and the local cemetery quickly filled up. Soon after, in the early 15th century, the hustle wars broke out, adding even more casualties to the region. As a result, the cemetery couldn't accommodate all the dead. In a time where mortality was overwhelming, the bones of the deceased were exhumed and stored in the ossuary to make room for more burials. It wasn't until late 15th century that a monk with a deep sense of spirituality began to organize these bones in the chapel beneath the Church of All Saints. This was the first step towards transforming the ossuary into the eerie yet oddly peaceful place we know today. The discovery and transformation of the Bone Church. Fast forward to 1870, when the local Schwarzenberg family, who had control over the church, they commissioned František Grint, a talented Czech wood carver, to take on the incredible task of arranging the bones. Grint's vision was nothing short of remarkable. He didn't simply organize the bones into piles. He transformed them into breathtaking art. Skulls and femurs were meticulously arranged into complex patterns, and a massive chandelier, constructed from nearly every bone in the human body, now hangs as the chapel's haunting centerpiece. Grint's bone art is not limited to the chandelier. He also created garlands of skulls, intricately designed coat of arms, and even bone chalises that seem to defy the dark purpose they serve. The Schwarzenberg coat of arms, a major highlight of the ossuary, even features a raven pecking on a severed head, a homage to the family's victories in battle. Essential details, what not to miss? There are several crucial details that you absolutely cannot miss when visiting the Sedlec Ossuary. The bone chandelier. This stunning piece of craftsmanship is perhaps the most iconic feature of the ossuary. Crafted entirely from human bones, it hangs in the middle of the chapel, its intricate structure drawing your eyes upward. The chandelier is said to contain at least one of every bone found in the human body, and its scale and symmetry leave visitors both mesmerized and unsettled. Imagine the time and precision it took František Rindt to construct such a piece, balancing bones of all sizes and shapes to create a chandelier that is as aesthetically pleasing as it is morbid. Take note of how the chandelier mirrors traditional Baroque designs, reflecting not only the time period in which it was created, but also the duality of life and death. It serves as a macabre reminder that death, too, can become part of life's grand design. The Schwarzenberg coat of arms. Another unmissable feature is the Schwarzenberg family coat of arms, which František Rindt fashioned entirely out of bones. This piece is located along one of the walls and is an eerie recreation of the noble family's emblem. The crest includes the iconic image of a raven picking at a severed Turk's head, a reference to the family's victory over the Ottoman Empire during the Battle of Rab in 1597. The raven's beak is fashioned from a delicate piece of bone, a fine example of Rindt's extraordinary craftsmanship. The four bone pyramids. Located in the four corners of the ossuary, these bone pyramids are some of the largest collections of human remains in the chapel. Each pyramid is made up of thousands of bones, stacked in a deliberate and symmetrical fashion. These mounds were created before Rindt's intervention and stand as a more straightforward, albeit overwhelming display of the sheer number of people buried here. Each pyramid is a reflection of the massive death toll caused by both the Black Death and the Hussite Wars. What's particularly striking is the stark contrast between these pyramids and the more delicate artistic pieces Rindt later created. The pyramids offer a raw, unembellished representation of mortality, while Rindt's bone arrangements bring an oddly peaceful aesthetic to the same subject. Don't rush past these. They are a stark reminder of just how many lives were lost to the harsh realities of medieval Europe. The Bone Chalises. Situated in various parts of the chapel are bone chalices, goblet-like structures made entirely from human bones. They symbolize the concept of sacrifice and communion, aligning with the Catholic tradition while adding a dark, unsettling twist. The chalices are ornate, displaying detailed craftsmanship, and are designed to look like ceremonial vessels. Though not used in religious services, their presence in the chapel underscores the blend of spirituality and mortality that defines the space. If you look closely, you'll notice that Rindt didn't simply stack bones to form these chalices. He used different types of bones to create patterns, adding an unexpected layer of artistry to objects that, to their core, represent death. The skull decorations. Skulls are an omnipresent feature throughout the ossuary, but it's the way they've been arranged that makes them so unique. Rather than being haphazardly placed, many skulls are arranged in symmetrical lines or patterns that evoke a strange sense of order amidst chaos. The skull garlands, strung together with precision, run along the ceiling and walls like grim bunting, forming an ethereal canopy of death. One of the most arresting features is the way the skulls are placed around the altar area. Here, the arrangement is particularly poignant, as the altar remains a place for prayer and reflection while surrounded by the cold, hollow eyes of those who have long since passed. The juxtaposition of life's greatest mysteries, faith and death, becomes intensely apparent in this part of the ossuary. The Latin inscription. Above the entrance of the ossuary is an often overlooked Latin inscription which reads, Resurrectionem expectamus. We expect the resurrection. This phrase offers a spiritual context to the entire chapel, suggesting that while the ossuary may be filled with death, it is ultimately a place of hope and anticipation for the afterlife. It's a powerful reminder that this isn't just a macabre tourist site, but a sacred space that once served to offer peace to those who believed in eternal life. For those with a keen interest in theology, this inscription ties the entire theme of the chapel together: life, death, and the promise of resurrection. It's a detail often missed by casual visitors, but it adds depth to the overall experience. The altar and the stained glass windows. Though less macabre, the altar and stained glass windows in the Sedlec Ossuary should not be overlooked. The windows filter soft light into the space, casting colorful reflections onto the bone arrangements, creating an ethereal glow that softens the grimness of the interior. The altar itself is modest compared to the grandeur of many other churches in Europe, but it serves as a reminder that this space, first and foremost, is a place of worship. The stained glass windows feature traditional religious iconography, providing a spiritual counterbalance to the bone arrangements. It's a subtle but significant detail. While the bones may draw in tourists for their morbid fascination, the altar and windows remain focused on the divine. The bone candelabras. Along the sides of the chapel are smaller, yet equally impressive bone candelabras. These intricate designs, like the chandelier, are composed of skulls, femurs, and other skeletal parts, arranged with stunning precision. The candelabras add an atmospheric element to the chapel, as they evoke the idea of eternal light, even in a space so filled with death. These smaller pieces often get overshadowed by the chandelier, but they are no less important to Rint's overall design. Each candelabra is meticulously crafted and further reinforces the chapel's theme of creating beauty from tragedy. The deeper meaning behind the ossuary. Beyond the spectacle lies a profound philosophical question about how we view death and mortality. As you walk through the Sedlec Ossuary, you're not merely observing a macabre tourist attraction, you're taking part in a centuries-old conversation about the impermanence of life and the mystery of death. The display of bones challenges us to think about our own mortality and the ways in which we honor, or perhaps exploit, the dead. The ossuary serves as a reminder that death is inevitable, but it also shows us that even in death, there is artistry, beauty, and a chance for reflection. It forces us to confront the taboo nature of death, transforming what could have been a piece of sorrow into a gallery of awe-inspiring craftsmanship. The ossuary today. Today, the Sedlec Ossuary continues to attract visitors from all over the world. It has become a place of pilgrimage for those fascinated by history, art, and the mysteries of death. The chapel, despite its grim decorations, is carefully preserved, with every bone polished and arranged with reverence. The caretakers of the ossuary are deeply aware of the ethical questions surrounding this site and have maintained a delicate balance between education, tourism, and respect for the dead. Conclusion. Thank you for joining me on this immersive exploration of the Sedlec Ossuary. This bone-filled chapel is a striking reminder of life's fragility, but also of the beauty that can be found even in the darkest corners of history. If you have any thoughts on the ossuary, Or if you've been there yourself, I'd love to hear your comments below. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and tap the notification bell for more explorations into the world's greatest adventures. Keep your eyes open and your imagination running wild, and always turn every travel into an epic adventure. See you next time!